guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Olamide. Make sure you like and subscribe. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I got into medical school. Yes, I did that. I did. And I know literally, I think like 2 or 3 videos ago, I said I was not going to make a video like this. But I changed my mind. Yeah, I changed my mind. And I think the big reason why I didn't want to make this type of video is because I can't necessarily tell you how to get into medical school. I don't sit on the boards of admissions. I'm not one of the student interviewers. All I can do is share my experience, and you know, you can take what I say with a grain of salt. If you are applying to medical school right now, you're gonna find yourself in a hole of watching a lot of videos like this, of seeing how other people have gone into medical school. And I think that one big takeaway you should get from these videos is understanding that there are many, many ways to get into medical school. Like, yes, everyone has to do an Mcat application or an ACOMAS application if you want to apply to an osteopathic school. But at the end of the day, like, we have varied different GPAs, MCAT, experiences. You will rarely find 2 applications that are exactly the same when you're watching these videos. And that's just something that you should really note of. So I challenge you to not compare yourself to me, like maybe you have stats or experiences that are better than mine or weaker than mine, but just know that that doesn't validate anything. But yeah, stick around where I spill all the juicy details about my GPA, my MCAT, my experiences, letters of recommendations, everything. You need it! And then if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you some bonus tips of what I did after I sent in my application. So after I sent my primary application, after I was done with all my classes, some other things that I did that I felt really enhanced my chances of getting in. If you guys are interested in any of that, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. All right, so we are going to start off with some background knowledge about me. I have my iPad right here, so if I look down, that's why. So first thing is I applied as a Massachusetts resident because that's where I was born and raised, and even though I didn't go to college there, it's where I spent most of my life. It's where my family is. It's where my roots are. I did also spend a bit of my childhood in Lagos, Nigeria as well, but I did not include that in my AMCAS application simply because there wasn't really a spot for it. I did not fill out the disadvantaged section on my application. I came into it thinking that I was going to, and I really was going to, but then I started watching videos similar to this just so I can get an idea of how people wrote their essays, and I would just got in my feelings. I was just like, wow, these people have really been through it. Like, life has really hit people hard. And then I started making the big mistake of comparing traumas. No. And at the end of the day, I just decided not to write one. But going back, I probably would write one. Not that I think that it would have changed my application any crazily at all, but I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have let other people's stories deter me from telling my story. So if you feel like in your path to medicine, you've been disadvantaged in a way, write it down and then let admissions decide the rest. I did transfer schools, so I started out my first 2 years at Franklin Pierce University, which is in New Hampshire, and then my last 2 years were at Towson University, which is in Maryland. I still was able to complete school in 4 years because I took a lot of summer classes, which highly recommend taking summer classes if you are able to. But yeah, I finished in 4 years. I didn't take any grad school courses. I didn't take any post-bac courses. I decided to take 2 gap years after graduating in 2019, mainly to just give myself time to work on my MCAT and my application, and also to find jobs in the clinical and the research scene, just so I could like really make sure that this is what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't want to just jump into it blindly. I really wanted to educate myself on the process and what it's like to work in medicine before jumping further into it. Well, upon graduating on my MCAS, my major was I was a functional biology major, and my minor is molecular biology, biochemistry, and bioinformatics. I sent out my AMCAS application July 8th, 2020, and I received it as verified August 19th, 2020. So it took a little over a month, but it was okay. I was studying for the MCAT at that point, so I wasn't really dwelling too hard on it. All right, so we are going to talk about my GPA. My science GPA was a 3.67, My all other GPA was a 3.85, and then altogether my cumulative GPA total was a 3.73. I was pretty happy with that. I don't really have any complaints. I feel like my grades were pretty consistent the whole 4 years. I did notice that senior year was my weakest GPAs, which I was like, yikes, that probably didn't look good, but I mean, I still got in. It wasn't too bad. I think I got like a 3.6, or no, I got like a high 3.5, and that was like my lowest GPA of all of college. Now the MCAT. All right, if you guys have watched my videos, my previous videos, you'll see that I received a 502 on my MCAT. Yeah, a 502, obviously not the greatest of all scores. It's literally like the most average score you can get, but I was so excited about it because by the end of my studying, I just was praying for above a 500. The COVID MCAT series, the AAMC was just doing too much. They canceled, my exam was the first to get canceled in March, and then I rescheduled it for May, and then it got canceled again, and then I had to end up taking it in July. So I felt like I just had to keep on studying. And then by the end of it, I was extremely burnt out because there is more to life happening than the MCAT, So yeah, I was working full time in a job where there was a huge learning curve. So I was starting out there. I was literally watching Black people get murdered on my iPhone. Like, it was just a normal day, just scrolling through Instagram. I'm like, oh, this person got murdered. Keep scrolling. Oh, another person got murdered. So, and then obviously the entire pandemic was affecting everybody's lives. So it was a lot. There was a lot happening. My Mcat score was not the greatest. It felt like a dark cloud over my head going into the cycle, but I was still comfortable with applying because I knew that there were other parts of me that showed my strength, even though it was not my Mcat. It was like my extracurriculars, my GPA, literally anything else. So for me, I felt like, maybe at admissions point, they would see, okay, she didn't do stellar on her MCAT, but her GPA is pretty solid. So it shows that she had good study habits in college. Just something must have happened with the MCAT. And yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people or a lot of pre-meds may go wrong in their idea of how heavy the MCAT is weighed. Because even if you don't score too well, if you have other major strengths in your application, you may be okay with still applying. Like, you really never know. You never know. So you can't have everything be perfect on your application. Some people do, and then they get into these amazing schools. If that's you, congratulations. But I know many people who have weaknesses in their application, but also have a lot of strengths that allowed them to get into medical school. So don't let the MCAT scare you. And if you are one of the people who had to take the COVID exams, give yourself grace. If you didn't score as well as you wanted to, please give yourself grace and then move on to the next step, whether that is choosing to take it again or applying with the score that you have. Last year was last year and this year, it's still rough for a lot of people. So be kind to yourself, for real, be kind to yourself. Next is my letters of recommendations. I definitely went overboard with this. I didn't realize I had so many until I started drafting out thank you cards, and I was just like, why is my hand hurting? Why is my hand hurting? For real. So I had 10 letters of recommendations. Yes, that was an insane amount. And I know you're probably like, how did admissions, most schools don't even allow that many letters of recommendations, but I'm gonna tell you how I was able to finesse that. The main reason is a committee letter. So I actually did have a committee letter, and part of our committee letter, they asked for letters of recommendations. And when you send out letters of recommendations to your committee, they put all of that into one big packet. So it basically counts as one letter, but in reality, there's 5-6 letters inside that packet. So that's basically how I was able to get away with so many letters that I did not realize that I had. So my first one was obviously the committee letter, which is a process of its own. If your school has a committee, I would go through them. I felt like it made my application a lot smoother because they asked for all these activities, all this information way early in the cycle. So by the time I was applying for medical school, it was already kind of finished and there for me to send out. So that was great. So I had my committee letter. I had my letter for my science letter. I had my professor in molecular biology write me a letter. I also had my professor in biochemistry write me a letter. For my non-science, I had my public speaking professor write me a letter. I had the dean of my school write me a letter. Who else? I had my college coach write me a letter. I had the medical director at one of my clinical experiences write me a letter. I had one of my research PIs write me a letter. And then the last two, the last two were a bit informal, and one of them was from a medical student who goes to a school that I was really interested in, going to. So I had him write a letter to that school. And then another one was from a resident. And he's an intern, and I also had him write like an informal letter to a school that I was really interested in applying to. Don't know if those really increased my chances. I feel like it helped. I felt like it was like an icing on top of the cake because I did get an interview and an acceptance at the school. So yeah, I had 10 letters of recommendations overall. My last part is my activities. So I did actually use all 15 activities, which is what Mcat provides. I was doing a lot. I was doing a lot in college, and I didn't realize that until I started writing down all these experiences. But yeah, so I did all 15. My most meaningful experiences first was the research I'm doing now with COVID. I started doing COVID research in the start of start of March of 2020. I have a bunch of videos on that. You can check my channel. My second most meaningful experience was a clinical position I had. I was a medical assistant at a pain management private practice. So that was like a really eye-opening experience. It was my first experience working in medicine. So that was my second most meaningful experience. And then my third most meaningful experience was playing college volleyball, because volleyball is a big portion of my life. I played for nearly a decade, so it just wouldn't feel right to have my application without emphasizing the fact that I played volleyball. So yeah, those are my three most meaningful experiences. My other experiences were literally all over the place. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't even think I have like a storyline here, but I'm gonna just read them off. So I was a wedding coordinator. I had some volunteer work as a medical assistant. I added YouTube. I was also a track athlete in college, so I added that. I did an internship while I was in college at a cannabis startup company. That was really interesting. I had another volunteer experience for people who were affected by Hurricane Maria that happened in Puerto Rico, I believe in 2017. I also had a volunteer experience at an autism awareness walk. I was a nutritional mentor. I did some clinical I did a lot of clinical shadowing, but I put it all into one activity because like there was just too much. I didn't want to make it its own thing. I just had it all as one thing. I was a volleyball coach. I was a committee member for this like athlete organization at schools. Schools would usually pick like one or two people for each team, and then you come together and, spit some ideas on how you can improve the student athlete experience at your school and at the NCAA level. So I was part of that committee, and I wrote that down. And then I had a awards and recognition section, which was basically all volleyball awards, like player of the weeks, most valuable player, yeah, just a whole bunch of all of those things. And then I had like Dean's List recognitions, and I just put that all into one category of awards and recognition. Yeah, those are all of my 15 activities. But yeah, honestly, any activity that you got into, like, you may think that they're bland and nobody cares, but you should still write them down, because you don't know what part of your application may spark something in like your admissions. Like my YouTube channel, I was like, do I put it down? Do I not put it down? But at the end of the day, I did decide to put it down because I feel like I put a lot of my energy into it, and I was questioned about it a lot. A lot of people were like, oh, I watched your video. Oh, I watched your channel. So that was always interesting to talk about with doctors. But yeah, good times. And then, so that's basically all the major parts of my application. I ended up applying to 30 medical schools. 20 of them were MD schools and 10 of them were DO schools. Another thing I should say, so DO schools, they use ACOMAs. They do not use AMCAS, they use ACOMAs. And honestly, I thought the ACOMAs application was a little bit smoother. I think it took like less than 48 hours to get verified, while the AMCAS for MD applications took well over a month. So just something to keep in mind is a timeline difference. Things will definitely move a little bit quicker with DO schools as opposed to MD schools. But yeah, that is my basic application, everything that I felt like is important to share. Last thing is the extra tips. If you stuck around to the end, I told you I had some extra tips. And these tips are things that I did after I had already sent out my primary statements and all that primary stuff, and still felt like I could do more to increase my chances of getting in. First tip I have for you, share your passion projects. Your passion projects. Yes, I said it. Do you like art? Are you a musician? Are you creative in any way? Are you working on any type of project? Share that stuff. Add that stuff to your application. Personally, I made a music video. If you haven't heard me talk about it enough, I made a music video about my Mcat Score reaction, and it was a great little project that I did while I was waiting for me to get my Mcat score back. And I really liked how it came out, so I decided to send it to literally almost every school I applied to. After my secondary, I would send them like a little like, oh, thank you, loved your secondary. Also wanted to share this passion project that I did, my music video, and here you go. And yeah, I did that. And I got a lot of different reactions. Like I had like admissions people comment and be like, wow, that made my morning. Like, that's such a great video. Like, oh, our office looked at it. We really liked it, type of thing. So I got a lot of positive feedback from it. I also had schools that just like didn't respond at all to that. Or I had schools that were just like, you can't add anything else to your application. Sorry. Like the most bland responses. I was just like, But even at one of my interviews, I had my interviewer play the song. Like I came into my interview and she just started playing the music video, and I was just like,
reset. Yeah, Olami just did that.
And this was before the interview started, so I feel like it really calmed me going into it. And I don't know, it left a really good impression to me to see that I could see that they were just like playing it at my interview. So that was a really cool experience. So definitely don't be afraid to share any projects that you're currently working on, because I think that a lot of schools might really appreciate that. Second thing are letters of intent. Yes, letters of intent. And please be intentional with your letters. Like, be very specific. Don't send out like the same bland letter of intent to all the schools you're applying to. If you have a school that you're really interested in, make sure you really identify the key parts of their school that you're really interested about and what gets you most excited about going to their school. Like, I personally did that, and I feel like that really helped me secure an interview and secure an acceptance, because I really liked the school and I wanted them to know that I really liked it. I said I liked it because of A, B, and C, and it aligns with me because I've done A, B, and C, so I feel like we're a good match. And then, yeah, I ended up getting accepted to that school. So send out letters of intent and make sure they are very personal, like they're personalized to that school, like, because they get a lot of emails, they get a lot of letters of intent, so make sure that yours can stand out in another way. So I know it's another essay, another paper you have to write, but it doesn't even have to be that deep. If you really want to go to that school, it shouldn't be hard to articulate that in an email. Next tip I have, closed mouths do not get fed. So during this process, talk to people, really talk to people. If anyone's asking you what you're doing, just be like, oh, I'm applying to medical school. Like, it doesn't even have to be that deep. You don't have to tell them your life story, but you honestly never know who you run into and who could really impact your ability to get into medical school. And there's two reasons and I have two examples. Earlier I said that I asked a medical student and a resident to write me a letter to a specific school I was interested in. Well, before the application cycle started, I didn't know these people. Like, I wasn't friends with them. But once I realized that I wanted to go to this school, I reached out to them. I was like, hey, my name's Olamide. I'm really interested in this school. I see that you go there, or you just graduated from there. Like, would you be open to having a phone call with me, or even doing a mock interview with me, since you kind of know about the process, and I could ask you some additional questions? They both said yes. And at the end of it all, they were like, oh, let me know if there's anything else I can do. Like, you seem like a good candidate. I feel like you'd do really well at that school. So let me know if there's anything else you can do. And then, once I interviewed there, I was like, hey, do you mind just sending them a informal letter of recommendation saying that, I would be a good candidate for their school? And they were both like, yeah, I got you. And they literally did it that day. It took them half an hour, and they were like, okay, just update. I did send it over. Good luck. And it worked. So closed mouths do not get fed. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, and don't be afraid to talk to people. Second kind of caveat for that story. One time, Nelson and I went out to eat at a restaurant, and it was our first time ever going there. And I think the owner of the restaurant noticed that it was the first time he'd ever seen us. So he came and started talking to us, just asking us what we were up to. And I told him how I was applying to medical school and how it's like a long, crazy process. And then he was like, "Oh, you should apply to this school. Like, I know one of the deans at this medical school." And I'm just like, "Do you?" It's funny because I actually already applied there. And he's like, "Oh, okay, just like text me your name and stuff, and like I'll see what I can do." And I was just like, "What?" I was so shocked. I thought I was just having a normal conversation with this man, and now he's helping me get an interview at one of the top schools that I applied to. So it was amazing. That's amazing. Honestly, I was really thankful for that. And I feel like that's the first time I've really seen how your network can like really help you progress. So honestly, build your networks, folks. Build your network, because networking is going to be pretty big in getting you opportunities. And I think that experience at the restaurant really showed me that, because I was able to get an interview. So I haven't been accepted yet. I actually got waitlisted, now that I think about it. I got waitlisted to the school, but it's okay. Like, the fact that I was even able to get an interview, it could have been because of my work and who I am as an applicant, or it could have been because of him. But the fact that that was even an option was really crazy for me. So yeah, that's my tip on that. Closed mouths do not get fed. Speak up, reach out to people, get what you want. Okay, so my next tip is to keep faith and be patient. This is going to be a very long process. There's a lot of waiting involved. You have to wait for your application to get verified. You have to wait for your Mcat Score results. You have to wait for interviews, wait for acceptances. Yeah, there's a lot of waiting. And I think that the most important tip I can give to you in that point is to find hobbies. And if you already have hobbies, really indulge into them. I already have a video of the stuff that I was doing when I was waiting for interviews. If you're interested, definitely check that out. But another thing that I didn't mention in that video is staying educated and staying informed about the medical process. I felt like the more I could educate myself on different specialties, different aspects of medicine, the more confident I felt about going down this path. So that's why I don't know if anyone's like me, where I feel like I need to be really knowledgeable on something to feel confident about it. But this was my way of keeping faith and being patient. 2 books that I can recommend to you. One is The Price We Pay by Marty McCary. He's a doctor. He's a general surgeon, I believe. And, you know, he wrote this book about the business of medicine and price gouging. And I thought it was a really insightful book. So I definitely recommend it to you if you are interested in the business aspect of medicine. Another book that I read is However Far the Stream Flows by Dr. Kofi Boahee. He is a facial plastic surgeon, and he just talks about his path to medicine, which was absolutely insane. He was raised in Ghana, went to vet school, then went to medical school. It's just, you know, seeing how successful of a man he is after going through so many barriers to get into medicine definitely gave me so much hope that, you know, no matter what happens, like, what's meant for me will be for me. And there's actually this one quote in his book. He said that this is something his grandma said to him, that he keeps close to him everywhere he goes. And she basically said that what God has designed for you, no one can take away. And I don't know, that just like, I felt like that really hit me, because it's so true. Like, if God has designed interviews to come my way, acceptances to come my way, like, it's gonna happen, you know? It's gonna happen. So I shouldn't spend so much time worrying, and I should just spend more time just having faith in the process and enjoying the process and understanding that if it's meant to be, it will be for me. So definitely get yourself educated on the process and really dive into your hobbies during this time, because it's going to be a long process. Even if you're busy and you're working, I was working, but I still really try to make time for the things that I enjoy. And the last tip I have for you today is knowing that it is not a competition. It is not a competition. Find yourself some friends who are also going through this process. Get yourself some pre-med friends, because you guys are going to need each other. And, you know, and it's going to be hard because, you know, they're going to get these offers that you wish you had, or they're going to get these opportunities that you wish you had. But like I said before, what God has designed for you, no one can take away. So you may be able to get those same opportunities and offers that they have, but you just got to be patient and keep faith. But honestly, other pre-med friends are going to be big on this process. I was so thankful to have been able to find a group of people that I felt like I could talk all of my worries and frustrations to, and they could talk their worries and frustrations too, and I could understand that we both have the same worries and frustrations. It just made the process so much better to not have to do it alone. So find yourself some people and just always keep a reminder that it is not a competition. It's going to be hard, and I had to remind myself of a lot of this advice that I'm giving, but I guess these are things that I wish I really understood when going through this process. It's going to be a year long, but you got it. You're built for this. Don't give up. Do not give up. And if you choose to give up, really understand your reasoning. If you don't want to pursue medicine anymore, make sure it's because you've gotten a taste of what medicine is like and you really don't want to do it. But don't give up because you're fearing rejection. You're fearing getting a bad Mcat score, or you're fearing not getting into medical school. I understand pre-meds have been perfect their whole life, so going through this process is extremely humbling, but just don't give up. You can do it. You can get in. And thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you got any use out of this, any cool tips out of this, definitely give me a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to my channel. It was great chatting with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.